Alright, welcome back. I hope you're having a good day. A tiger bark ficus is just a different type of microcarpa. I took this as a cutting in late 2020. This is actually a cutting from, this was the sacrifice branch on its on this guy's mother plant. And for those of you that are gonna keep up with my videos, keep up with my trees, I haven't updated the mother plant since May, and I actually did go to update it probably like a month before the hurricane, and I accidentally deleted almost the whole video except for like the last 3 or 4 minutes. So I saved that last 3 or 4 minutes, and I figure I'll just save that for the next time I update it. But I did update this guy in June, and since then the wire was biting in really heavily at the apex. I cut the apex back a little bit, and I've just been letting it go since then. It fared okay in the hurricane and everything. I decided to work on it today just because I noticed that, you know, some of the lower branches here are getting kind of lignified a bit, and they're actually growing out long enough here where they're getting to where they're competing with the apex some. And I've noticed in some of my trees, once that happens, it'll start growing just as fast, and it'll get, you know, way too lignified, too long, too quickly and everything. But the idea was with this tree is that since I had grown this from a cutting, and I noticed when I actually took this off the mother tree and everything that it's going to take forever for that sacrifice branch to heal, that I didn't want to do any sacrifice branches of any sort or anything. I just wanted to go ahead and wire it up as I went. So far, you know, it's working pretty well. It's got a decent little swell on it. It's always been in this pot. I'm going to show you first. The first picture I have is from November of 2020. And then in May of 2021, I actually, because it was growing so quickly, I thought that it was getting pot bound. It wasn't, and what I wound up doing was I just pulled it up out of the pot a little bit and actually just added some substrate. And so what I'm going to do, I have been with this tree and others like it. Every time I prune it, I cut every growing tip off, and what I've noticed is that it'll get, you know, it'll get tons of back budding, but it always gets so much in places that I don't really want it, in that there's always so much coming straight up and things like that. And so when I cut it back today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to cut it back to some usable smaller branches that are not coming straight up or straight down or anything like that. And since we're heading into winter, those should kind of grow nice and slowly. Maybe the wire won't bite in so quick. I mean, it seems like every time I wire this within 4 to 6 weeks, I notice it biting in already, and not even just biting in, but biting in to where like the tree's like enveloping it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna go branch by branch. I've only really got, there's like 4 main branches, and then it kind of, you know, comes up to a moving apex on the top. So I'm gonna start with this one. This one, like I said, that's getting so tall, it's almost getting up there with the apex. And I'm gonna go down. And a couple of these I may come back and go a little further on. But I'm going to go down to, I was thinking about, there's like 3 sub-branches coming off of it. Actually 4. And then there's this branch coming off of 2, which I'm definitely going to leave. And I'll start by cutting it off there. And then I can always go further. I was thinking about coming back to this branch, but I'm going to leave this one on there. For now, like I said, I'm going to wait until I prune the rest of it and just see what my thoughts are at that time. And then this little, you know, this little extra branch here, I definitely want to leave it. But I also just kind of want to, that piece is growing straight down. That piece seems much too long. And I think I'll just leave that for now. Actually, I'm going to go all the way back to this other. It's kind of what I'm going to try to do is wherever I go back to, I'm going to try to leave a growing tip for it, just for me to wire into place. And so that, like this branch, that's actually the 3rd branch. I'm going to try to go up branch by branch, but on this is I don't know if you guys can see that. At one point, I had that cut off, and there was even a little, you know, I was hoping that it would just kind of grow straight out of there, and everything I've been able to get it to grow out has come straight up, and now I have to kind of put it in its place in order to make it usable branches. So that's what I'm trying to avoid this time. But anyhow, if I go to this second branch on my way up here, that would be this one. And as much as I would like to save that ramification there, I'm going to go all the way back to that branch. See that branch on there. And then this one, I'm just going to come to the one, that one growing tip there. And then this is now we're to the one that I was just talking about. And again, I feel like I'd like to go all the way back here almost on this secondary branch. I'd almost, you know, it's almost in a bad spot because it kind of almost looks like it's coming down underneath of it. But I do want to save it. But that branch is coming straight up. I think what I'll do is come back to there. And then for this one, definitely got to try to get some good heavy wire on that this time. And I think I'll take that out to there. I did want to save that in there. Hopefully I didn't come too close to that. And then when I do wire it, both of these are going to be straight up, so I'm going to take both of those out. I don't want any straight up branches there. Try to get that to come out a little bit flatter than that. And then kind of almost start getting up into what could be considered the apex, although there is like a fourth branch here. Unfortunately, it's kind of almost coming out the same way that that one is. And so I am going to take off the longer piece of it. And then these two are coming out there together. And I'm just going to pick one basically. So looking at it now, I mean, because it's so young and because I've never repotted it, I've always kind of considered that to be the front. It's got a branch and a branch, and then this first branch would be the back branch. But I am kind of, I don't know if you guys can see some of those aerial roots hanging out in there. I don't know, I'm probably going to wind up rubbing them off here when I wire it. We'll just have to see. But whenever I do go to repot it, I mean, there's, you know, that could wind up being a front there. That way I could keep that lower branch and actually use it instead of, you know, just as a back branch. But as far as a, you know, a left branch, a right branch, accompanying with a back branch to give it some depth, that's always been the kind of way I think about it. Plus, the apex has a turn that way, and so I could probably make it to where it's kind of looming towards you a little bit. Whatever I save up here now is kind of partially just for movement, for taper. And now that I've had these trees long enough, I know that no matter how much I cut the apex back, it's just always going to have a ton of growth coming out of it. So I can pretty much do whatever I want within reason. And I'd like to save I like the position and the movement on this branch. A little bit long, and I would have liked to have made it a little bit shorter, but both those other branches on there were sticking straight up. And like I said, I do want to save growing tips on all the branches I'm trying to save now. This branch is actually a little bit thicker than this one, but this one starts lower than that one. And I'm going to do, so in the interest of trying to hold on to some taper there, I'm going to go ahead and cut off the thicker one. And I'll leave that one there. All right, let's get some wire on this guy. I got some of the thicker wire on the bottom here. I got thinners that went up. My wiring skills on the thicker branches with the thicker wire, sometimes I feel like maybe I should just blame it on I don't have any left-handed wire, but sometimes I feel like I have like two thumbs when I'm trying to do it. I thought about trying to get some of these secondary some of these secondary, well, I say branches wired up, but then once I really got to look at them, they're really just kind of twigs that I've left behind. And since I'd like to, it's still in development, I'd like for some of them to just kind of thicken up some more. Plus, the only reason I'm actually even wiring it right now this time of year is because of the way that these outer branches were coming up. And it's really the ones that get the good head of steam that kind of will start lignifying. These little twigs here, they'll stay nice and flexible for a long time. But I got some nice, movement up in the apex there. Again, sometimes I think about some other fronts. These two I'd like to hold on as branches. And then this one, rather than trying to get any more, apical movement up there, I know I'm not going to leave it that tall, so I'll just let that go ahead and get some growth, and that'll help thicken everything up. It should get a couple little sprouts, say between here and there, and then in the spring, whenever I go to wire it again, I'll go ahead and just cut that part off and leave a shorter apex there. But either way, we'll see what happens. See if I can show you guys some of these aerial roots that are forming. I was able to leave a couple of them in there. My love for aerial roots and the feeling like I got to save every one of them. But that was one of the ideas of leaving it in this pot for a while, is I wanted to let it get nice and root bound. That would be another potential front. I kind of like the looks of that. Well, we'll let this guy go through the winter and see what it looks like next year.